and the Guardian is the code name for the team that won't quit. Its purpose to force the normies to swallow the red pill against the narrative. A ruthless force determined to keep everyone asleep. They broadcast the truth on Rumble, high clouds dropping red pills every week. Overwatch and the Guardian, the narrative is weak.
We can't let it end like this! It's too late.
Defenders of the Overwatch and the Guardian. Overwatch and the Guardian. Overwatch and the Guardian. Overwatch and the Guardian.
Fucking love that eagle.
The I think it was the White House, or it may have been the CTO of War. One of them put out and literally put eagle screech.
Mm,
It was pretty cool.
I love it. I love it. It's like my
How
favorite.
you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Had a long drive yesterday. It was like, well, it wasn't long, 15 hours.
That's
Just
long,
got the
bro. That's
yeah,
long.
got the New York a little while ago and got settled in. Was able to get a show set up. Got the Daily Dose out today, and now we're on the OG show. I'm in a nice country house on 3.5 acres for an Airbnb with my kids. So, fuck yeah, it's beautiful outside. It was hot as shit in here. The AC wasn't working. Only they have like module AC units all over, and one of them was out, so kind of sucked. But hey, everything's good, man. Everything's great. How are you doing?
Good, man. I'm happy to hear that, man. It's, dude, we're 2 days, well, less than 2 days away from the 250th birthday of
Well,
the greatest country ever.
did you know? And so it's funny. I was actually talking about this on my show because I like going into and I did a really awesome monologue today on my thoughts on the fourth and stuff like that. But did you know that our actual Independence Day is today, July 2nd?
Well, me and Ken were kind of talking about this, but they didn't have everybody there to sign it today.
So Donald Trump actually posted this 3 minutes before my show went on. Actually, no, my show was already live, and I talked about this on my show, and then Trump actually posted about this about a little ways into my show. But listen to this. 250 years ago, on the eve of America's momentous vote for independence, Caesar Rodney received word that he was urgently needed to break a deadlock among the delegates to the Second Continental Congress. Although he suffered from asthma and facial cancer, Rodney immediately set forth on an 80-mile overnight journey by horseback from Dover, Delaware, to Philadelphia. And during a raging thunderstorm, he arrived 250 years ago this very day on July 2nd, 1776, to cast his decisive vote and secure America's glorious destiny of freedom and independence. An equestrian statue honoring Rodney's key to contribution now anchors the spirit of 76 at the Freedom Plaza, a new exposition in Washington, D.C. So the Continental Congress voted on July 2nd, 1776, and even John Adams wrote to his wife Abigail on this day, stating that July 2nd will be one of the most famous days in American history because of what happened that day, is that the Continental Congress voted to separate from from Great Britain. Now, this was also interesting because 2 days later is when they signed the Declaration of Independence, written by a gentleman by the name of Thomas Jefferson. Now, interestingly enough, July 4th, 1776 was Thomas Jefferson's birthday. And so they declared that on July 4th became Independence Day, the day that everything was finally signed. The Declaration was finally signed, but the vote from the Continental Congress came on July 2nd. So July 2nd to July 4th is kind of like that revolutionary time when it really happened.
That's cool, man. I like that. I knew some of that, but not to that detail. So that's really cool. And we were laughing. We're talking on SitRep. They're talking about it's gonna be the largest fireworks show, right?
Mhm.
You'll find this interesting. We'll get into the show tonight, folks. So it's gonna be very interesting. Definitely a shift in conversation to what we've all been kind of talking about. So definitely hang around after the ad breaks. We'll get to that. But They're looking at about 850,000 fireworks. So we started asking the machine. Yes, dude, because they're trying to break the Taiwan record of, and I guess you have to have at least 810,000 to break the record. But the other thing is, this is all supposed to go down, and I think it was 1 hour, 2 hours. I don't remember what it was. No, it was 1 hour. I think it was 1 hour that's all supposed to go down in. And so we're doing the math, and it's something like 40-some thousand fireworks a minute is kind of like where you're at. But out of curiosity, as CanCon was researching the with the machine on this, something popped in my mind. I said, how much ammonium nitrate do you need to make that many fireworks?
About 60,000 pounds.
So, well, I went, and which is equivalent to 30 tons, right?
Yeah.
30 tons makes approximately between, I think it was like 1 million and 800,000 and 1.5 million. And CanCon's calling me, like, if he doesn't know I have a live show right now.
Put him on. Put him on.
No, I'm telling him I'm live. He might have forgot.
Maybe he's watching and wants to correct you.
Sure, it's not.
I told you gas prices were national average without.
He did bring that up. He did bring that up. All right, got the little bubble. He's typing, folks. He says we got a boop on sit rep.
Ooh, a boop.
Let me tell him if he wants to come on OG real quick to share it.
What's the boop? I want to know the boop. For people that don't know the boops are hat tips by the Trump administration.
Let's see. I asked him if he wants to come on real quick to share it, so this way I'm not doing the messenger stuff. It was a fun show. It was actually more like everybody watched us kind of hang out and have a conversation. It was fun. But I'm gonna get ready to
run your Rumble ad.
Oh, he's literally talking about what you're saying about the. He goes 10 minutes.
Caesar Rodney.
Yeah, he's saying 10 minutes after I said we could have had independence today if it wasn't for bad weather and slow horses. Trump truths this, and he's thinking. So I think he's going there. Let's see.
Very, very much
It's
so.
pretty cool. A little show within the show. That is pretty freaking cool. Come on, Cam.
Let's get this show on the road. We're gonna be talking.
Let's go, yeah. Because now that we know where he's going, I finally got that ad that I was asking you about, bro. So
go ahead and run that, then I'll run mine.
All right, let's let me rock this real quick. And you're going to see a QR populate on the screen right now, folks. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt the problem. Now, fast forward to today. Everybody's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why myself and Josh use the Rumble Wallet. It takes all the complexity and it makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital-backed gold by Real Gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay so that you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like Josh or me directly. So do this right now. There's a QR code on the screen. Scan it or click the link in the description and download the Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. And that link will be down in the description as well if you're watching the replay. Go ahead and fire off.
All right. We'll do one more at the end, and that'll be my Rumble ad, because I think Alpha will probably run the same one that I run, and there's no reason to run it twice. But what I'll do is I have a new sponsor of my shows, and Alpha does as well. He can put out his link for this, but I thought I'd bring this image up here because maybe it's a hat tip to Green Star, to Green Star, and maybe a video that he can make, because I am the Navy guy. I am the Navy guy. So, but just saying, guys, go check out Soft Disclosure, new sponsor of mine and Alpha's shows. And so my link right there is softdisclosure.redpills.tv. For Alpha's link, you want to go ahead and throw that in the chat for yourself, for everybody out there.
Yeah, or just use promo code Alpha. That works too.
Or just use that promo code Alpha. But Soft Disclosure, the top lotion, hydrate dangerously. I feel the need for moisture. Guys, I use the beard oil, I use the tallow bar, and I use the deodorant. It is fantastic stuff. You can also just go to redpills.tv. We do have it linked up over there. But go check it out, and let us know what you think of it. I think they're great products. So new sponsor of the show, and happy to have them along with us.
That's pretty cool. I gotta be like, you gotta make me something cool. Come on, man.
You got the Asian Fu Manchu.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I need to have them.
Oh, and we got a new video. They're gonna. I hope they do the video. I'm not gonna give it away, but you're
I like being surprised. So,
but you're riding the bike. You know what I'm already talking about. I already told you about it.
You did?
I already told you about it at Guard.
You didn't tell me anything where I was gonna be riding a bike. Well, don't. In
the AI video, your Asian dude will be riding the bike. I hope.
Man.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Shout out. This is cool. Durango Nibix. Gifted 5 subscriptions over here on the Alpha Warrior Show.
What a name, Durango Nibbit, man.
Yeah, pretty badass.
I got LM Evans gifted 5 subscriptions over on the Red Pill Project. Thank you so much, LM Evans. Appreciate that. And I also had a $20 Rumble Ramp. Happy 4th of July, Josh. Safe travels, RPG 3573. Thank you so much there. And awesome, good start to our 4th of July show. And we could sit here and talk about America and the Constitution and
we could.
All of this.
This is an interesting conversation. So let me set it up, folks. So Josh, you guys know he already had something up his sleeve. So he sends me this video, and not going to get into details we can reveal, but a mutual source, I'll say that, a mutual source that's been providing us some information for a good minute to prep us on some stuff that was kind of coming down the chain. And we've since started to see some indicators of that stuff, right? And so Josh says, hey, you got to watch this video, right? It's
because you asked the question. You asked, so we're talking about somebody. We're not going to mention the person's name. It was talked about in private conversation. If it was talked about publicly, then it's a different story, but it's private conversation. But Alpha asked a certain question to this person. And this is a person who definitely is in that know. And Alpha asked a question. He says, does this have anything to do with near-death experiences?
Regarding the disappearance of the scientists and all that, for those of you that are wondering. And it was an interesting answer, because the answer to that was not no, which is what I thought it was going to be. So then we get to the point where Josh sends me this video. And he's like, hey, man, watch this video. And so I got through about 3/4 of it, and I was just like, holy smokes. Now, this is what really caught my attention. These guys who definitely seem like they're pretty well versed and studied on this, or it's almost like they've been listening to you with some of like the, words matter, right? And it seemed like some of the stuff that they were using was talking about you. And it's this concept of, are we approaching the definition or understanding of like demons correctly, or is it something else? And what was interesting is when you looked at some of the facts that they laid out that the church is aware of, it seems like that information actually supports the position that they have and not demons. And I found that very interesting. I was like, how can the church have this information but still kind of hold the position of demons? So because let me just give you and I'm going to hand it to you, because you're going to dominate this, because I'm going to ask you a lot of questions tonight. What I came away from with, it's easier to tell people demons, because then you just take a step back and say, well, I'm just going to rely on my faith. I'm just going to pray. When you learn that this isn't demons, it changes the game on what do you do and how do you protect yourself And are they around you right now? It's crazy, folks. So with that, Josh.
So, okay. So let's preface this first, right? So we're talking about Danny Jones's podcast with Nathan Gillis. Nathan Gillis is a demonologist, not classically trained by the Catholic Church, but definitely, I think, over 2 decades of study and integration into understanding demonology. And this guy has studied literally thousands upon thousands of cases, studied with the world-renowned experts on it. And what he's come to understand is that your typical perception of what you believe a demon to be is not. It is completely not what you think it is. Now, what's interesting is that Alpha and I did a show a few weeks ago. We talked about out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences. We talked about consciousness, UAP, disclosure. And one of the things I said is that angels, demons, extraterrestrials, ultra-terrestrials, all of these things are simply intelligent expressions of consciousness. You cannot put them in their own separate categories. The only 2 categories you have is ones that are kind of ethereal, ones that you cannot see in physicality, and the ones that are biological. But even so, the biological ones can be ethereal. And this is something that I've studied for a very, very long time. And I think that this is what the prepping of disclosure is actually coming about. They mentioned Jim Simeon. And if you people don't know who Jim Simeon is, he worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency under the original Bob Bigelow programs that funded over at Skinwalker Ranch. So he investigated all of this different type of paranormal occurrences over at Skinwalker Ranch. And so along with the UFO and the UAP things that were happening, there was also a massive amount of paranormal things that were happening, poltergeist level activity. Orbs, and these orbs taking shapes and forms. Now, Nathan Gillis, when he's talking about this in the Danny Jones podcast, one of the things he says is that there's these experiences that people have with seeing an apparition, so like a full-bodied spirit. Now, there's this tale of this mother and this daughter, and the daughter is witnessing an apparition. And the mother sees the apparition, pulls her out her iPhone, and takes a picture of it. Well, guess what? It wasn't an apparition on the iPhone. It was a glowing orb. What does that tell you? It tells you that the glowing orb was the actual thing that was there, not the apparition of the lady or the man or whatever it was. Instead, that was a projection of consciousness. Instead, whatever this orb thing is, plasma that can be conscious or a projection of consciousness, that it can hack into your brain, that it can change what you see, what you think. Now, he also goes in to explain that many UFO sightings are exactly this as well, that these orbs can appear to be big craft when actually they're just these glowing orbs of plasma. And what they're doing is they are tricking your brain and your mind. In other words, he lays it out in the sense that what we're witnessing right here with all this different type of phenomena that's happening in the world, from extraterrestrials, UFOs, UAPs to orbs and plasma and all this, is that the government knows what's going on, is that there is some type of conscious technology out there that is far beyond anything we understand, and that there is something on this planet that is manipulating mankind, that has the capability to get inside your mind and change what you see and what you think. Now, that's pretty fucking scary. Now, it goes in that, I mean, he talks about it in the sense that you get into all the succubus and incubus stuff of where
yes,
they talk about kind of this spiritual mating that happens, like where you have the ejaculations with the sigils, and that's for the transgression of the consciousness to kind of take form into the fetus, the missing fetus. I mean, for anybody out there, go look up Nathan Gillis on the Danny Jones podcast. This is a massive podcast to watch. He explains it a lot better than me. Obviously, he's got a lot more information on that side of it. But tonight, I wanted to talk about this other side, something that we talked about a few weeks ago: near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, and then also kind of integrate this new information into it, because it's not really new to me. I already know this. I got berated this last weekend at Garth because I had a conversation with somebody, and we weren't necessarily talking about this topic. We were talking about another topic, but that person's like, well, how do you know? And I know. I can't tell you, sorry, but I know. Alpha knows. Like me and Alpha, we can't even talk to each other about some of this stuff. But understand that like this shit is very, very real. From an experiencer, someone who's had these experiences before, someone who's lived this stuff before in their life. This stuff is very real. And to just classify it as demonic, it's just demonic, is ignorant. I'm sorry. I love you, but it's just ignorant. And you're not understanding the larger scope of what this actually is.
It simplifies the problem way too much. That was the big takeaway I had from it. I forget which one of them mentioned it, but he brought up something in this question. It just resonated with me, man, because it really got me to thinking. And he used the term for it. I don't remember what the exact term was, but essentially it's they want to be seen, like the need to be seen. And when I started thinking about that, I was like, man, such a kind of simple concept that really kind of expands into something that's, when you think about that, it's like well, what the heck? Go ahead.
There is something that Gillis did not get into, and he hinted at it multiple different times. And it was something that you and I talked about on the last show about this. And what you just hit on was there's this need for them to be seen. Well, what if I told you it wasn't a need to be seen? It was quite literally a feeding ground for them. That in order for them to be seen, they have to engage with you mentally and emotionally. That this is their feeding ground. Now, I have a lot of different theories on this. There's things I know, and there's theories that I have pertaining to this. But basically, what I want you to understand is that these things integrate with emotional energy. So people who have severe traumas in life are the ones that are most likely going to be affected by UFOs, UAPs, angels, demons, paranormal, all of these types of things.
To that point, he said that there was, and now I need to go back and get it, but he said there was something that these people had consistently, people that were dealing with, and he said that the church had even caught on to this. People that did with exorcisms or with possession, people that have stories of being abducted, and people who have seen apparitions, that there was something that their body had. It was something with their cells, and that all these different people had in common. Do you remember what that was? He said it was like they have a lower count on something. It had God, I wish I remember what it was.
So number one is that there's trauma. There's always trauma afflicted in these people. Number two is Dr. Dean Radin, which they did mention on that show. When he was at Stanford Research Initiative, they did a lot of research on what's known as the God gene. There's a certain gene inside of us that that when activated, this gene is like 90% or 99% of all people who see paranormal activities, who see UFOs, have this gene activated. Well, the people that don't have it are the skeptics, the ones that have never seen anything, which I find kind of interesting. But getting back into this whole idea is that these things are, I think, feeding on us. So go to the movie Monsters, Inc., right? So what's going on? They have to induce fear into somebody because that fills up the tubes, and that's their electricity for
children of all people.
That's right. And that what we're seeing with a lot of these beings is exactly that. But here's the thing is I think that there is various different, I would say, species or different variations of consciousness in this realm that interact with humans. I don't think they're all bad. I don't think that they're all good. I think that some of them are even us. I think that some of them are human beings. He mentioned something, Nathan Gillis did in the podcast. He said that, not every branch of religion and philosophy believes in reincarnation. Some of them believe that, your spirit or your soul just kind of, dwindles away or dissipates and goes away, that energy does just kind of reintegrate back into the universe. Well, what if certain people, magicians, sorcerers, or occultists throughout the millennia have learned how to preserve their consciousness? And so this is kind of where he goes in, that during demonic possession, sometimes the people that are under demonic possession, they will regurgitate objects, small objects, paper clips, pens, these types of things that come out of nowhere, things that they never put into their body.
I got a story to that. Go ahead.
And we'll also talk about how the Vatican actually holds this in a vault away from people. The reason is because those demonic entities that the Vatican is excommunicating or exorcising are actually attached to those objects. Now, he talks about a story that he was told by someone in the U.S. intelligence, where they went to a gifting land. A gifting land is a place where extraterrestrials claim that they'll gift the humanity some type of craft or technology.
This part got my attention, dude.
Yeah, they went there and they gave them the technology, and they start to look it over, and all of a sudden, poof, it was just gone. Within 10
to 15 minutes.
Within 10 to 15 minutes, poof, it was gone, as if it wasn't real. Now, this is interesting because one of the new whistleblowers that just came forth, I don't know if he was on Jesse Michael's podcast. And he worked with a few different of these groups, but he talked about how when they were in a helicopter, the Air Force, the Navy was chasing this black helicopter that had just picked up these people from the ground, these illegal migrants from the ground, that they were kidnapping them to bring them into these programs. And they were heading towards the Mexican mountains, and they kind of like disappeared into the mountains. When the F-18 went into the mountains, it almost crashed, as in the mountains weren't there before, and all of a sudden they just appeared. And he calls them foglets. And the foglets are basically, it's like this fog that shows a holographic image of something. And then the helicopter will be able to pass through the holographic image, and the plane will not. And so very similar context to this technology that he's talking about. Now, what I'm actually talking about is you go back into what they were just talking about there with sigils and the insemination and stuff like this. This is various different dark occult rituals that they do. And this is actually the latch your consciousness onto that sigil, or sigil is just like you can build sigils in many different ways. They're intentional symbols, if you want to look at it like that. But you can create your own sigil. And what they're trying to say is that it's called the red ritual, is that you could do this with your excretion, your secretement, your sperm, onto a person, and it'll attach it to that person's womb or to the person's next baby. So it's going to ensure reincarnation. So that's one kind of red ritual in the dark occult. But what he was saying is that these demons or these entities that are kind of not in our realm, but they're expressions of consciousness, they attach themselves to objects. So for instance, poltergeist activity is typically always connected to some type of object. An object is always present that is carried, or that thing is attached to. And typically how he was describing this, and this is fascinating because I've had an experience like this before in my life. He was talking about these people where one of their family members had just passed away, and they had an urn on the mantle. And they go the next day and the urn's gone. And they're like, what the fuck? And they had massive amounts of paranormal activity there. And then they go out and they replace the urn and stuff like that. And years later, they find the urn inside the wall.
Yes. So let me introduce my story here, because this is what it applies to.
Sure.
Because when I was listening to it, bro, it freaked me out, dude. So, and the reason I know for a fact that this happened was because the level of attention I put to it, because something else. You guys know I have little ones, right? A 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, right? Not of course I got big ones, but I'm talking about the two little ones. And I started learning more about stainless steel, and not all steel is the same. And so there's certain stainless steels. I forget the numbers. I don't know if it's like 1862 or whatever it is, but there's certain stainless steels that you want to drink out of, even as us for adults, because you don't want to get like those bad metals in the water. Again, I'm in this whole, make alpha healthy again, right? And so I was like, all right, I told Mrs., we got to get rid of all this stuff that the girls have, and I'm going to order these new cups, right? Very specific ones for my older one because of what she likes, very specific ones for my smaller ones for what she likes, right? Each one of them has 2. And all of a sudden, a couple of days into this, we can't find the smallest one's cup. Now, I know parents are saying, yeah, that happens all the time. You're right, it does. And then, you end up finding a toy. We searched, we turned over everything looking for this thing, Josh. Everything. The toys, her little hiding places, everything. Can't find it. No idea where it's at. So then I tell her, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll just order another one. Maybe she threw it in the trash can, because she's at that independent age. So maybe, she was trying to help out. She threw it in the trash can. That's what I told myself. She probably threw it away. But we searched everywhere, like everywhere. Just want to make sure everybody understands that. Then all of a sudden one day, I'm working in the studio and she's like, hey, you found the cup. I was like, what are you talking about? And she's all, she tells me my baby's cup. And I'm like, no, did you find it? Like, no. Right. And the older kids aren't with us. And it's like, I didn't find it. She didn't find it. And so then the audience would probably say, oh, well, maybe one of your little one found it. Well, we have a gate where she can't come into the kitchen. And this cup's in the sink. So it has been the most.
Throw that fucking cup out.
Okay. So let me tell you how serious I took this shit today, bro. And I don't want to get ahead of the story because I want you to explain why you just told me that. But I just want to know my plans were I'm throwing out all 4 of them just to be on the safe side. And I'm ordering new ones. Josh, tell them why.
So one of the things that is talked about here is called projections of consciousness. Nathan Gillis talks about how there was this woman who bought these cups from Costco, just regular coffee mugs. And that one of them fell and shattered. And then the next day, the cup was there. Completely normal. But the shattered one was already shattered. They're like, what the hell? Well, they brought it to one of these paranormal investigators and they actually tested it. And what they found out is that the isotopic measurements of it were different. It was a completely different cup. And it's believed that these are kind of physical, real world recreations by these entities of how they connect to it. I'm going to get into a little bit more of kind of my theoretical model of all of this and how this all makes sense. But when I was younger, I had an apartment and I had 2 dogs. And I told this story before. Remember, I said that we had the spoon, which we scooped their dog food with, and we put it on top of the black sheet, and then it disappeared. It like fucking disappeared. We washed the sheets. Weeks later, it reappears. There it is. About the time it reappeared is when that pineapple went 6 feet from one side of the counter and stood up in the middle of the sink. And that's when all this shit started happening in my life. And I'm like, what is going on? But this stuff is very, very real. And they will attach to objects or they will create the objects. They will create the objects themselves. And so here's a theoretical model is that we live in a conscious universe. Now, people can take from that what they want to take. This is what I want you to take from it, is that the physical world wasn't first and then evolved to bring about consciousness. It's quite the opposite. The conscious world is very, very real. The world is consciousness. It is a field of potential. And that consciousness, all different expressions of it, can express within this field. And that the material world was thought and imagined and created into existence. I know people are like, that sounds so fantastical. Well, this is just one way to begin to understand what I think we're leading to with disclosure and all this stuff. But here's an idea for you, is that if you start to realize that consciousness doesn't necessarily need a body, a physicality, a physical body to exist, now you understand the definition of the Latin word daemon is where we derive the word demon. It's also where we derive the Aramaic word jinn. It simply means disembodied soul or consciousness. A consciousness, an entity, an intelligence without a body. Now, This is my thoughts. I think human beings are very, very special because our consciousness latches on to a biological creation or expression of who and what we are. We've learned to live in the physical world. Now, how does our consciousness come into the body? So I look at consciousness as an energy, and that energy has to be equivalent to the mass energy equivalents. And so a fetus or a baby in the womb cannot have the full integration of a consciousness. But as that baby begins to grow up, that consciousness begins to latch onto it more and more and come into that being. Now, it's interesting that we say it comes into being because typically when children start to hit puberty, we have what's called coming into being traditions around the globe, from Native Americans all the way up into the Jewish communities. Kids come into being. What does that really mean? It means that their consciousness, their soul, is fully integrating with their developing body, that their body is now obtained a certain energy ratio threshold to where that soul can come fully inside of it. Now, I don't know if you remember this, Alpha, but when I was about 10, 11 years old, I started I just realized whoa, I'm aware, this is very real. It's not G.I. Joes and cartoons. It's like you had this conscious moment of awakening and awareness, and you're like, what the fuck? What have I been doing with my life? I've been wasting it, and you start to remember everything from that moment on forth. I call it the day that I came into being. And I've talked about this and wrote about this for years before I started hearing it in other conversations. But, we have Native Americans that have these coming into being traditions where they will send these kids out into the woods to discover their spirit animal and merge with the spirits of the forest. We have, bar mitzvahs in Jewish philosophy where, the soul finally overtakes the body and begins to integrate into the world. And so the idea that you're starting to see here is that there's this conscious energy that is attached, resonating with the physicality of your being. So who's to say that consciousness can't latch on to other things, that it can't latch on to a can, a symbol of greatness. It can't latch onto a picture, a painting, something that has some type of deep emotional tie to it. Now, I've always looked at emotion like this, is we tend to see things in a very linear pathway. But imagine if when you had a trauma in your life, that there was a tether between you. That tether, the thickness and the strength of that tether is how deep that emotion affected you. But that tether now strings out through time. So imagine back in 1987, you had something happen to you and it was very emotionally significant. You might not even remember.
I can give you a real example of this real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
So, you guys know the story of my partner, Jermaine Gibson, that died in the line of duty in front of me, right? And a year later, I go through the nightmare of PTSD, something that up until that moment, I thought was fake. I always thought it was bullshit like that. I got humbled through this experience. But anyways, in the fight to maintain my sanity and keep my job, Chief says, hey, you're going to go and see the therapist, psychiatrist, which are one of those two. I don't forget what the title is for them. And I had to do it, right? Boss said that, I got to do it. So anyways, long story short, he wants to identify what's the trigger, right? Now you would think, I saw him, burn alive in a vehicle. It's going to be something to do with fire, right? Or the police, uniform, which would suck because that's what we wear, right? But you would think that it was probably the fire. And anyways, we go through these things and it's not that. So I shit you not. I don't know how they do this. I don't know how it works, but it like I said, I didn't believe in this whole psychiatric stuff. I was just like, how's a stranger going to tell me about me? Like, I'm not buying that bullshit. Right. So we do the ink blotch cards, right? Those weird things that they do. What do you see? What do you see? What do you see? What do you see? And of course there's one, and I almost felt like he was doing it on purpose. right? But one of those ink blotches looked like a police car on fire to me, right?
Mhm.
So anyways, we go through this thing later on down the line, like a couple months down, probably like 3 months or 4 months later, we go through these cards again, and he goes through that card again. And what do you see? And I'm just like, I describe something different. And he writes in his notes, right? And I'm like, what's going on? Well, what he ends up telling me later is that card is the same one that I had saw a car that was on fire. And now I see it, and I completely didn't see that image. So it wasn't him. It's me. It's my concept. So, anyways, down the pathway of these things, what he found out was it wasn't the cars, because what was happening is while I was on the job, I'd go to a call or something. And like, for anybody that's ever experienced anxiety, like this is the anxiety attacks that I would have. And we had to identify what is this? Because you got to identify the problem to fix it, right? And what we ended up finding out was it was not the police car, it was the sound of the siren.
Mm.
When I heard a siren, it was a triggering thing. And what he said was because at that moment that, I witnessed that with my partner, the car sirens were still going off. Like we weren't worried about that part, so you still had these things going on, and it created that tether, what you're talking about. So he did this thing. I want to say it's called EDMR, I think. Pretty cool. But nonetheless, I just remember him having this conversation about when you go through that very traumatic event, something is going to attach itself in that moment
Yep.
to that. And it's going to be this anchor in you. And when you touch on that thing, you're like, stand by to stand by.
Right. So think about this as an imaginary tether, imaginary anchor that is now kind of strung through time, connecting you back to that point. So what I don't remember our point where I was going with this, but what I want people to understand is that tether is kind of like an emotional vulnerability for every single one of us, and things can attach onto that, and they can express within that, they can feed on that. That's one of the reasons why there's various different practices out there to cleanse yourself of these past connections and relationships and emotions. But I believe that some of these things, whatever they are, some of these entities, they feed directly off of that emotional trauma and emotion. But also, I think at the other side of it is that when you invert that, when you bring that back to the power of love, the power of creativity, that it empowers you. That one of the things that they talk about, and this is something that I've always talked about, is conscious projection. Is that when you're having an out-of-body experience, you're projecting your consciousness into a different realm of the universe, into a different field, kind of like the upside down in Stranger Things. And your body's right there, but you're projecting your consciousness elsewhere. And there's been massive amounts of tests with this in scientific studies. This is a very real phenomena, from people having near-death experiences floating above their body, people having out-of-body experiences, Robert Monroe and the Monroe Institute. But here's the thing, is that we can project our consciousness out there and then reattach to matter. But what about beings that are already attached from matter? Can they project matter? Can a consciousness project matter? And that's where this gets really interesting. And what I mean by that is that how did that broken cup that's in the garbage in pieces all of a sudden put itself back together and end up on the shelf? Something had to project that matter into the world. When those scientist guys go to pick up that alien technology and it dissipates in front of them 15 minutes later, what created that? This gives you ideas of the chair that they used at Montauk Island, that you could sit in the chair and anything you thought would manifest in front of you. But it also, I think, is the reason why this stuff has been secret all of these years, that our government knows the truth. And the truth is that you are far more powerful than you can ever imagine. I believe that our ancestors, I believe that they were one with this world. In other words, they knew that this world existed. They knew how to protect themselves from this world, and that they had domain and dominion over this world. of this alternate world that we're talking about that exists right beside us. And I think that it's the ignorance and it's the nescience and it's the lack of information on it that has caused us to become a slave to it, to become an emotional slave to this world. And I believe that the stories that we hear of people having various different special gifts and powers, telepathy, telekinesis, this is the world that brings that all about. And that is really about conscious projection, how your consciousness is far more powerful than you can ever imagine. And that the only problem is we've never been trained how to use it successfully.
I don't disagree with you. On that projection, he said something, and I was curious. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna ask Josh about this." When he was talking about the part where what's the remote viewers, and he said it chuckling. That's why I was like, "Oh, maybe he was just playing around." But it was hard to gauge. But he goes, "You know that all remote viewers are Scientologists."
Yeah. I not all remote viewers are Scientologists.
Okay, all right. I was curious.
I mean, it was Jesse Michaels or Danny Jones. I think it was Danny Jones. Just had a guy that I know very well, Lynn Buchanan, on his show. And Lynn Buchanan was part of Project Stargate. He was with Ed Dames over at the U.S. Army in the 1990s. He is definitely not a Scientologist. Tim Price, Tim Price.
And that means he probably was humor that I picked up.
I think it was humorous that the people that come out now and claim themselves to be remote viewers are typically Scientologists.
That's interesting. What do you make of the part where, because I saw somebody in the chat, well, quite a few people in the chat actually bringing up the orbs. And remember when he's sharing that story of the guy, because it was, again, the projected consciousness, where he's like, it has me up against the wall and I can't breathe. And they're like,
and it projects out a hand around.
Yeah. And well, he says it's like, I can't breathe. It's choking me. And they're like, we don't see anything. But then they saw the handprint on his actual throat.
Yeah. And so to give you an idea what he's talking about is the story is that there was this one experiencer who felt like that there was this thing around him and he was being attacked, and they had captured on film and video this orb around him. And then on his neck was a handprint right around the area where that orb was. In other words, that orb projected out a hand that grabbed him by the neck. Now you say, well, why would that orb be evil? Maybe the orb wasn't evil. This is where the conversation gets interesting. Maybe the orb is a lion in the jungle, and it finds itself some prey. And that prey is fear. That prey, how it eats, is fear, is inducing fear into somebody. So that orb comes out there and finds, hey, I'm going to go after this one, projects out a hand, strangles this person, adrenaline gets going there and stricken by fear. And that orb is absorbing that energy and it's feeding on it.
I'm glad you went here, man, because this is the conversation I was going to ask you, bro.
So the question is that orb evil, or does that orb exist in a world where we're not the highest on the food chain, and that this is just its nature, and all it's doing is it's trying to eat, live, and survive? Now, I'm still sticking with evil, bro, because you know the way I am. Yeah, well, but to us, it's evil. You know, but guess what? To horses, or sorry, to cows, humanity are genocidal maniacs.
Well, yeah, we
are the most evilest thing in the world. Chickens fucking, I mean, just think if we go into the next world and we're the chickens, what chickens will do to us. Oh my God, it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, I agree with you. But what you explain right now, that hunger is the fear because of what the fear creates that they absorb. We're talking energy here, right? Mm-hmm. Again, this goes into the movies of Trolls, of freaking Monsters, Inc. Like, we can go down all the movies that have that narrative.
Jupiter Ascending.
And you had a conversation with a 3-star general at the time, and he said, you know, an extraterrestrial government, right? And we've talked about that a few times. And we have people like Congressman Tim Burchett that says
Burchett.
Burchett, if Americans, I'm never gonna get it right, man. I gave up. If Americans, he knows I love him. If Americans, or not even just Americans, if humanity knew the truth, we'd be in such fear. It's a pretty interesting statement. What if what we're talking about is there are people, we'll say human like figures that look like us, but they're these orbs that have now made themselves into what we see as a human form. And this is where that occultism comes from things like, pizza, I'll say pizza fence, since we're over there on YouTube. I want to try to survive, Hillary,
Adreno,
go
Google
home,
browser,
Adreno, go home, right?
Adreno, Google browser and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You actually, and what if it is an intelligent expression of consciousness that is a predator that has manipulated certain people over time to believe that they are gods or demigods, or that they are powerful simply because they exist in a realm to where humanity is not the highest on the food chain, and that they manipulated them to give them basically an abundance of a food source to where they've expanded their population and now can do amazing feats within the ideas of consciousness, even occupying their hosts or even manifesting directly into reality. Now, does that make them evil? Or does that make them simply the king of the jungle?
Listen, I'm sticking with evil, man. He ain't getting me off that X.
Well, why are they? Let me ask you this: is if you are, remember,
I know, I get the argument you're making, and it's a sound argument, but again, I think one of the things that differentiates us from animals is this communication ability that we have as humans, right?
I was just outside. And there's these bullfrogs, and they're going back and forth, bro, 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 and they're going back and forth. And I said, hey, they're communicating. All animals communicate.
No, I hear you, but I'm talking about to be able to communicate like the way we do. You know what I mean? It is different. We share a lot of different emotions that, this is why COVID was so bad with the mask, right? The facial expressions, right? I've never seen a bullfrog put his I don't know what that you call it, his leg arm around the bullfrog, says go get beers, right? It's there is this, evolution of what we have that separates us from them. And in that we understand like evil, like to your conversation on and there are a few animals that are kind of outside this box, and I understand that. So this is a generality, but most animals that kill, it's because to feed. But there are a few that do it for sport, like killer whales and some other ones. And, that's kind of weird, right? But we understand that if you go and do certain things to a child, like you got to be a dark soul or no soul to do something like that. And so,
listen, I'm not going to disagree with that. I mean, when we start talking about that realm of pizza fencing and all that stuff, yeah, that's evil human beings doing evil things to other human beings.
That's what I mean. So if we have this entity, right, this being that is this projected consciousness, right, without the human body, and I would take that as that's a step up, right? That's a tier up. That's obviously that's evolved from what we are. I would imagine that they still have to have that same that construct in their mind that weighs the difference between something that's
hold on. So I was leaving my house yesterday, and I have this cat that I adopted a while back, and she's an outdoor cat, so she just loves living outdoors. And my daughter's like, oh my God, Winnie's got a mouse, and she's carrying it across the yard. And I go over there, and Winnie's got a mouse, and she's carrying it across the yard. And I go over there, I'm like, hey, Winnie, what are you doing? And she drops the mouse, which is very much still alive. Okay. And I get asked, are you going to take the mouse away? And I said, no, absolutely not. You don't go take a mouse away from a cat. The reason being is because now that cat, when it's in the house and it sees a mouse, is never going to kill it again because it thinks it did something bad. But also, what did that cat do to that mouse? Number one, the cat isn't going to eat the mouse. The cats don't eat the mouse. They fucking torture and torment them and then kill them. Okay? They fuck with them and then kill them.
That's why cats are evil.
That is sadistic. That is sick. But guess what? This is the sweetest cat in the world. So, in analyzing this from a psychological standpoint, right? If there's a higher being, okay, let me ask you this. When you were younger, did you ever burn ants with a lighter, gasoline, or magnifying glasses? That's evil.
It is.
But that is fucking evil. That's sadistic, dude. So now think about this. So now think that there is a consciousness that is above us in the food chain. Something evolutionary that is above us in the food chain. Okay? We can't see it. It can manifest into our reality. It can manipulate it. It can project things into your mind.
I got a great counter for this.
Okay, this is fine. Okay? But it can manipulate you. And so just like you put the sugar trail leading to the magnifying glass, human beings fall into the trap of emotional trauma and they feed it. They give it its joy, its expression, whatever it might be. Does that make that entity, that being, evil because it's trying to eat?
Yes, I'm going to tell you why. I'll tell you why, right? When you bring up,
and I hope people understand I'm being devil's advocate here.
Yeah, 100%. I get you what you're doing here, and it's a great back and forth, and I'm enjoying it. It's when you look at the ants. Why do we do that to the ants? Because it's this animal where we don't really sense, emotion from it, right? And hold on. Let me set this up. Right? Why do we go and do this to like the chickens, right? And the cows, but we won't do it to cats. We won't do it to dogs because we feel these animals show love. And so since these animals show like love and emotion, it's like we don't see them as food. That's why we don't do it. Some cultures do, but you guys get what I'm saying. So
there's two reasons. We don't see them as food, and we don't see them as having emotion. Right?
We see dogs and cats as having emotion.
No. The ants.
The ants.
The ants as having feeling or emotion, right?
Right.
Thank you. So understanding that, so the reason why we do these things to these other expressions of consciousness is because we believe they don't have emotion or thoughts or feelings, and because we don't perceive them as food. That's your counter argument?
Yes, because any entity that's out there is going to sense at us as humans have that.
Now, let me ask you this: are we evil? Is humanity evil towards those creatures? Because what I want you to do next is think about a more intelligent, superior species of intelligence that's above you, saying, oh, those human beings, they don't feel, think, and understand things the way I do. That they are food to us. And then the question you ask yourself is, are they evil? They are evil to us, but they are not evil unto themselves.
I don't know, man. I gotta keep studying it, because what's the name of that? The white lady they kept bringing up, and they said the white lady would show up with or the white lady apparition or something. And it would show up with darkness or these dark apparitions with it as well. And the way they were describing it as, the way the church and even the intelligence agency, because the intelligence agency is aware of her, that they kind of show it as, oh, she shows up and it's this interpretation of something good. But he says they're leaving out because of the other guy that's had this experience with I remember they said white lady. I don't remember if there was a name or
it was white lady. So the white lady is pretty ancient in talks and communications. Hathor.
Here's my question. My question for you though. He said, but the intelligence agencies and the church leave out the part about her where before she does that, she scares everybody. Like on all their encounters, she scares them.
So here's the great assumption. the great assumption is that everybody's seeing the same entity. They're not. This is the one biggest misconception I think that happens in all of these communities that nobody ever fucking talks about. And I had this realization. You ready for this? You know who the Red Rocker is, Sammy Hagar?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I had this realization because of Sammy Hagar's book. Sammy Hagar wrote a book. And I got it because I heard Sammy Hagar on a radio station. And he said, I had an alien abduction. You can read about it in my book. And so I went out and got the book and I read the book. And the night before I heard him on the radio, I had this experience. And in this experience, I learned something, but it wasn't like profound to me. I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But it's something that stuck with me my whole life because after this, I read it in Sammy Hagar's book. And I'm like, oh my God, he understands it too. What he said is, yeah, I was abducted by aliens, but they took my consciousness and left my body. What? Now, that's interesting because the night before I heard him say anything like this.
He wrote that in the book?
He wrote this in his fucking book. So the night before is I was in this meditation and there's this kind of woman entity being that I've had in my life. And one of the things that she told me is that your mind, when you're trying to perceive the world beyond, your biological brain cannot process it. So what your brain does is it creates a fantasy, a fiction, a belief of what it is. Now that can be exploited as well. So what am I trying to say here? Is that whenever we have any of these experiences with these things, whatever they are, is that our brain tricks us into believing it is something that it's probably not. That if you're looking at, let's assume that these entities are fourth dimensional beings and we can't perceive the fourth dimension. So when your brain tries to look, your three-dimensional brain tries to look at a fourth dimensional being, it cannot understand that. So what it does is it goes into the recesses of your brain, of your memory, and it pulls out all that entertainment and fantasy and imagination, and it creates the best completion of what it believes is actually there. But here's the other interesting part. That can be influenced. So now, also, when we're talking about projections of consciousness, we're talking about these things that are projections of consciousness can actually read what your brain is thinking. So now it can read what your brain's thinking, pick up on what your imagination is saying or believes it thinks it is, and then it projects itself as it. This was actually in what they were talking about, Nathan Gillis. He was talking about the girl who had this cartoon character that would manifest in front of her, like, oh, let's go play today. And the cartoon character, her, would go jump off. And she was always seeing this cartoon character until one day she got older and she's like, you're not really the cartoon character. I don't believe in you. And it began to glitch out. And the reason is because it was basically using the construct of her own mind to develop what she believed it was. But in actuality, it was probably just an orb. So, when we start to look at this is, we are highly manipulated if we allow ourselves to be. Since then, I've gone into this practice of understanding that, I've developed my imagination over the years massively. Now, in the sense of the white woman, I've met a white woman in a very, I was in the hospital. I was on, all hooked up. I had something happen to me. And it's like 2:00 in the morning and I'm not doing too well. I'm all fucked up. And I open my eyes and my wife at the time is asleep in the corner. And this old white lady, white dress, white hair, walks in through the door. And I look at her and I go, oh no. And I go, I know who you are. And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, you're the angel of death. And she goes, yeah. But I'm not here for you. It's just a slow night. I thought I'd come say hi.
No,
I shit you not, dude. I've never told you this story?
No, dude.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there.
Night was fucking Death a comedian or what?
No, this is me in the hospital. And I'm in the bed and I'm like hallucinating. Okay. Like I'm fucked up. I had severe food poisoning. And my ex-wife is sleeping right there in the corner, wife at the time. And like everything's groggy, right? And this woman in a white dress, white hair, walks in, older lady, probably 75. And I look at her and I say, "Oh no, I know who you are. You're the angel of death." She goes, "Yeah, but I'm not here for you. It's just a slow night. I thought I'd come say hi." And I'm like, "Whoa, ha, ha, ha," right? Like, and she goes, "But your father wants to talk to you." Because my father had passed away years before. And my father walks in, and I don't want to cry here, but like I had this conversation with my father, and they just started, the waterfalls just started pounding down. Like you can see, I'm already crying, but like it was a massive emotional release. And then she comes back and says, "You'll be all right now." And she walked out.
Damn, dude.
And about 15 minutes later, the doctor walks in and is like, "I think you're good to go. You can go home now." I'm like, fuck, right? So unhooks me, gets me all settled up, and we drive back to Denver that night. And I get in my bed, and there used to be this meditation I do. And the idea of the meditation is like you have energy centers in your body, and that these energy centers are whirling wheels of color, right?
Bro, I just had a light bulb go in my head, and I'm going to need you to bring me back to earth when I tell you this.
Go on. You want me to finish mine?
No, finish yours, bro. I'm hoping I forget.
So, like, you get to your heart chakra. And so what I used to do is I used to imagine these little wheels. So I'd fill them up with like these big old buckets of color. And then I'd spin them, and they'd spin up above the area. And it'd be like spinning red or spinning yellow. And when you get to your heart, it's a green color called your heart chakra. And I spin the green, and all of a sudden, this woman spins out of it, and she's wearing a green dress. And it's the same woman from the hospital. This is the same night, by the way. This is like a few hours later. And she goes, "Let me teach you about the heart." She begins to teach me about the heart. She goes, "Go on." And I do my throat chakra. She comes out as in a blue dress. She goes, "Let me teach you about the throat." And that's where I got the gift of gab, by the way. A lot of from her teachings of what she talked to me about, how to communicate all this. But then the third eye, we would call it the third eye, is she comes out and she looks like, remember Captain Morgan from Captain Morgan? You remember the big purple jacket he wore? She comes out in this Captain Morgan jacket. And she goes, "Let me teach you about the third eye." And then she comes out of the crown chakra in all white. Same appearance that she was at the hospital. And then she comes in. This is actually really personal, but she's like, "I'm every woman you've ever met in your whole life. I'm every woman that you've hurt. I'm every woman that you've loved. I'm every woman that you've interacted with." Basically saying she's the divine feminine or something of that nature. And I looked at her, and I remember looking, and I said, "But what if this is real? And what if this is nothing but a fiction in my mind?" She goes, "Yes." Gone.
Just like that girl that said this can't be real.
But the question is, what if this is real? And what if this is a fiction in my mind? She says, "Yes."
Because they're both right.
There's no difference.
Okay. All right.
So that was my experience, dude. And there's a lot more to it, but it's really personal experience. And I'd be in tears all night on this show talking about all this stuff. And the things that I've learned from that whole experience. But, so other people have different experiences of the lady in white. Okay. And so the question is how do they know what they were experiencing wasn't something that was just projecting itself as a lady in white because it read their brain waves and thought that they were expecting it?
I don't disagree with that. To me, that's more logical, actually. Mm-hmm. Just like when they were sharing the stories, and I'll get to the thing where I'm going to need you to bring me back to earth, bro.
That was Whitney. Someone said that was Whitney Houston. That was Whitney Houston.
And her daughter both died the same way. That's a whole nother show. But when they were talking about that lady that says she's abducted by the Grace, she has that experience, but her whole family's there, and they're like, you didn't go anywhere. Like, we've watched you. So it 100% supports what you're talking about, this concept.
And by the way, when
You
she
know,
came
Sammy
out of
Hagar.
it, she had symbols all over her
Yes.
body.
Yes. So again, something happened. They didn't see her leave, but obviously you see these markings on her body, so something happened. So here's the light bulb that went off that hopefully you don't affirm it, but you tell me I'm wrong. You've talked a lot on this show and some of the other shows about a 500-year leap in 20 years, right? With me so far? Okay. We've studied the boards, and one of the understandings we have is that the ending isn't for everybody, and very subjective, and people can have their own interpretation of what that means, right? Is it referencing the apocalypse? Is it referencing the awakening? Or is it referencing a choice that you're going to have? And I want everybody to hang on to that kind of concept, right? In the video, and what you talked about right here was this, the gifting fields, right? Where they go off to these fields and these things that we think are aliens, give them this technology, and they're looking at it. And within 10 to 15 minutes, as they're walking away, it dissolves into sand. They think, is this a setup? What's going on here, right? But it's still the concept of handing you this technology, right? And part of me was thinking, like, if you guys know that happens every time you go, then the next time you go, don't walk away. Stay there. Maybe it has something to do with the anchor point or where it was given to you, right? Different question down that way. But again, this technology, right? Now I want to bring up something that you were talking about how they can read our consciousness, right? Our thoughts. This article, folks, was written 3 days ago. And it's we don't script the show. We kind of talk about, ideas we have, and then we flow with it. We keep it pretty organic. So this is from AImeta.com for those of you that want to go look at it. It's from June 29th. From brainwaves to words, Brain Security offers a new path to communication without surgery. And I'm just going to read the first little paragraph here. Last year, we introduced Brain Security. Is it Curity or QWERTY?
QWERTY.
QWERTY, okay.
Do you know where that word comes from?
The keyboard?
Good job, Alpha.
Yeah, I'm good on the keyboard, man. Research that uses AI to decode brain activity into text without any surgical implant. Now we're sharing the next step. Brain to QWERTY version 2, the highest performing end-to-end pipeline capable of real-time sentence decoding from non-invasive brain recordings, approaching levels of accuracy previously exclusive to techniques that require brain surgery. Now I'm going to stop there. I'll put the article in the comment sections for those of you that want to go and read the whole thing. But here's where I'm going with this, Josh. One of the other things, and I think you were absolutely accurate on this, and yeah, as a matter of fact, I think you even brought this up with that military person that we're talking about this release of all this information with AI to bring in all these specific scientists and geniuses so that they can interpret this stuff, and we can, kind of start to put the dominoes in motion of this advancement of a 500-year leap in 20 years, right? And now we're to the point, bro, where we're saying we don't even need surgery.
Isn't that what I said just a few podcasts ago?
Yes.
I said I don't think we're going to need technology integrated in our brains from Elon Musk.
Yes, I was going to tell you about this article, and I completely forgot about it.
Now, do you know who developed that technology?
No.
Go look at the top left corner of that again.
Oh, Meta. I thought you meant like the specific person.
Facebook's developing it.
Yeah. So
there's more articles that go along with it, which is really interesting.
Facebook, DARPA.
They're actually developing it to communicate with the AI.
DARPA? Well, hold on. We'll go there. You're gonna send you know how to do squirrel on me. But the point I'm trying to make is we're already in a very short window, bro. According to their release, right? We're not talking about, well, we're always 20 years behind. I agree with you guys on that. I'm not going to make that argument. But according to the public release, this is all very new. And in this fast, we're already at the stage where they're on version 2, not version 1, version 2 of the ability to get what's in your head with no wires, no invasive stuff being put into your brain and translate it to text. Now, do we think that this was the genius minds of artificial intelligence and, scientists from MIT? Or did this technology come from these entities in the gifting fields? And are we looking at, and this is completely speculation. I love on this show because this show lets me kind of put my hair down and really push the fringe, right? Are we looking at the evolution of humanity as in we can become these things? And when we get to what the board says, the ending isn't for everybody because some people aren't going to want to.
I don't know. Those are some good theories right there. In the sense, do I think that this is human-derived technology? I do think that it's human-derived technology. I think that a lot of our technology is trying to make sense of stuff that we don't understand. But let me kind of twist this into a different direction. So you just showed this technology that's going to integrate us into this whole new world. Well, what if all technology wasn't necessarily technological? What if it was biological? Think about it. AI is going to allow us to potentially travel the stars, to meet other biological entities. But right here on this planet, there's a hallucinogenic mushroom that you can eat, and you see hundreds of tiny people going about their daily life, talking, communicating, interacting, having emotion. They're all over. They're going in mystery doors. They're going through regular stuff. They're walking. They're watching, like they are doing things. And guess what? It's not one person had this experience. It's everybody who took the same mushrooms, had the same exact experience, saw the same exact people, the small, tiny little gnomes.
So we're literally talking the Smurfs.
Right. Now, here's the interesting thing. That's on the small little mushroom. Well, have you ever heard of people taking DMT and seeing the people of light in the crystal city?
No, I've never heard of the people of light.
Yeah, they see people they see beings, spiritual beings, entities of light. So I want you to start thinking about this. They also see gnomes. They can also see gnomes in DMT as well. So you have two different biological drugs, biological technologies that you can take, that you can interact with other expressions of consciousness. And now we're getting to the point where we're developing technology, synthetic technology, that's going to allow us to do the same thing. I think that's pretty interesting.
Man, this is where I get I guess apprehensive.
So
is good people. I see good that can come from this. But given the careers that I've chosen, especially the last one, I've also seen the very worst of people.
mm-hmm.
And my concern is when those people decide to, take this and gain access to whatever it takes you, right? Little people, Smurfs, lighted beans, on the other end of that spectrum, are they so evolved that evil's not even a concept, it's just existence? Or on the other side of that spectrum, is it the same thing like we have here, where you have good and you have evil? Because I do believe in my creator. And I do believe that he's created this far more vast than the human mind can fathom.
Do you remember Thundercats from when you were a kid?
I do remember Thundercats.
Okay. The Lino, Chitaro, right? Thundercats. And who is the bad guy? Mum-Ra.
I don't remember.
Mum-Ra, right?
Yeah, like didn't they look like gargoyles or something like that?
No, Thundercats. Yeah, Mum-Ra, and then they look like gargoyles. So for people who don't know the story, cat-like humanoid heroes escape their doomed planet Thundera, and they settle on a planet called the Third Earth. And when they get to the Third Earth, there's this other species there, okay, Mum-Ra and his people, whose Mum-Ra is a sorcerer, and they start to go to war with Mum-Ra. Now, who's the hero? Who's the bad guy?
Oh, Thundercats are the good guys.
Really? They invaded their fucking planet. They're not from Third Earth. They're from Thundera. They left Thundera, found this planet, go and land on it, settle down, and there's already a species living there who's native to the planet. And that native species says, hey, you can't be here. And they go to war with them. Who's the evil one?
Bro, don't ruin my childhood.
I'm rooting it because it was trying to teach you a very, very valuable lesson. So there's other series that are exactly like this.
Bro, you're making me think now. That's crazy the way you make my brain work, because now I'm thinking Voltron. Now I'm thinking like all these things, man. Like, what were they telling us?
Mm-hmm. There's another really, really good one. What was it? Oh man, it was there's another example of exactly this. Oh man, it was right on the tip of my tongue. Thundercats was a good one.
James Williams over there on my YouTube chat says Prime Directive. Why is that familiar to me? I've heard that before.
Well, that's Star Trek.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, Prime Directive is you never interfere with a developing civilization because your technology could affect their development. Your intelligence could affect their development.
We got such a smart audience. I'm looking at the different chats. You have Laura Gamma's over there too on YouTube, says, Anunnaki. It's just knowing how like you guys are so well studied.
Oh yeah, He-Man's another one.
Yes, He-Man, Castle of Gray Skull.
Yeah, Gray Skull humans versus superhumans who land on their planet and take it over and then declare it their own.
The little
Superman?
ghost with the O on his chest. From He-Man. Remember he floated around? Gosh, somebody in the chat saved me. What was his name? It started with the damn O. It's right there on the tip of my tongue. I know someone in the chat's going to help me on this. I hate the freaking delay because it's like 20, 30, 40 seconds, whatever it is. I'm just like, help me. I'm throwing out a freaking lifeline. Oh, and nobody.
I got one for you.
Jesus, people.
Do you know the story of Peter Pan?
Yeah, I have. Owen? That wasn't Owen. Gosh, you guys are letting me down. I just gave you guys all kinds of compliments. And now, not Oreo, not Oro. I'm gonna have to look this up. Gosh, I just complimented the audience.
So for anybody out there who doesn't know this, Peter Pan lived in a place called a Scareglow. Oh no, Scareglow. That's not. No. White Ghost.
I'm pulling up the He-Man characters right now. Y'all disappointed me. Come on. Battle Cat. No, not Battle Cat. Not Tila.
No, Orlo.
Orko. Yes.
Orko. My audience knew it. They're shouting it over there. But so Peter Pan, right?
We need to do, before I forget, we need to do a battle of the audiences, bro.
My audience would rock it. So Peter Pan, for anybody out there, he had a bunch of underage kids that he would not let go, that he kidnapped from their bedrooms and brought them to a place called Neverland. And there was one sane adult called Captain Hook who tried to save the kids, and Peter Pan killed them. What are they trying to tell you?
Wait, Captain Hook wasn't trying to save them.
Oh, was it?
He was the one taking them.
Captain Hook was not the one taking them. Peter Pan was the one taking them.
No, he was the one bringing them back home. I haven't read the story in like 30 years, bro.
Remember, the kids get to stay free forever in Neverland if they decide to stay. They get to stay kids forever.
God, man, you're throwing me for a loop. Yeah, I'm with Kate. I'm gonna say her name wrong. My apologies.
Just go to the 1990s movie Hook.
Kyle Green says, so Peter Pan is the bad guy? I'm hoping not. Is that what you're saying?
Peter Pan is a pedophile.
Explain
this.
Peter
Pan was a pedophile. Peter Pan is a creative imagination of the modern world.
Wait, slow down. No.
Yep. Hook was actually trying to rescue the children from Pan. Pinocchio is another one. all of these things are directly correlated to like the vulnerability and innocence of young.
No, I agree with you.
Treasure Island, enslaving the kids on an island. Where have I heard that before?
Shit, I didn't think about that one.
Dude.
I didn't think about that one.
Disney is some dark shit.
No, I'm not going to argue with you on that one.
But here's the thing. Or were they trying to tell you something?
Well, let's connect that back to this projected consciousness. How do we do that? Because I know we went off on a tangent.
Well, this is all there. Is that we live in a world, a hidden world.
Okay.
There's a world around you right now that you know nothing about.
Agree.
But it knows everything about you.
Agree.
And so what people need to begin to realize is that when we say this is that, or we label things because of our different ideologies or belief systems, Josh just fucked up my childhood. Good. When we label things simply because we have a belief system or an ideology that aligns with that, it doesn't mean we're right. Is that there's a whole world hidden in front of you you know nothing about, but it knows a hell of a lot about you. And that our job, at least my job, is to try to uncover that world and figure out what the hell it is.
And then listen, I appreciate it because when you do expose me to things, then I go into the detective mindset where I get to apply the skill sets that I have to expand upon that. So I do appreciate it. Kelly Bratt in my chat says, she goes, Alpha, wasn't it the dog that sent something evil about Peter Pan when he came for the children? I don't remember that. So I don't know if you remember that, Josh, that the dog used to send something about him. So I'm not sure on that. Let me share this story with you to kind of bring us back to this conversation. And I know I shared it a long time ago. I don't think we had Overwatch in the Guardian. It might have been like DEF CON or Q After Hours. But given this new thing that I'm learning about now with the projected consciousness and kind of what we talked about tonight, you remember the story I told you about where me and my partner, we go to this call for service. It's this young girl. She has, some, I'm trying to think of what's the appropriate word. She's got some mental things that are different, right? She's not a regular kid. And she has these adoptive parents. They call the police because she doesn't want to go to school. And this is just part of police work, right? So we show up to this house. She's somewhere between like the age of, I would say like 9 to 12, like no, not younger than that, maybe 9 to 11. She wasn't very old. So we talk to the parents. Parents kind of give us an idea of kind of what's going on, which is it wasn't schizophrenia, but it's something similar to that, but it wasn't schizo. And so we go into the room, we're talking to her, and then my partner, we kind of get her relaxed and calm down. So my partner says, hey, sit tight with her. I'm going to go talk to the parents. So, okay. So, and I remember this, dude. These step parents were just awesome. The little girl's room was pink. It had like the little drapes, like it was all princess out, like what you would imagine for like a little girl. So it was super cool to see that. But her closet door were mirrors, where the full door slides and both of them are mirrors. So that's behind me. She's sitting on her bed. There's a little like end table nightstand with her lamp on it. Doors off to my left, doors open because of course it's a minor. I mean, we got body cameras and all that, but it's a minor. And I'm like, hey, we just did some recent training on like identifying like some of the mental issues that people deal with. So let's put this into practice. So I started having this conversation with this young girl. And dude, look, I'm getting goosebumps just because I know where this story's going, bro. It's you guys. I know you guys can't see because of the damn camera, but this thing still gets to me, dude. So we started having this conversation, and then she tells me, because I'm trying to identify these different personalities that she has, right? Because we get to that point where she opens up to this, right? And it was all ladies, the people in her head, right? All ladies and one male voice, right? And so while we're talking, she goes, he doesn't want me to talk to you anymore. And so I figured she was talking about that male voice, right? And I forget, she told me the names. I don't remember, but we'll just say like Joe, right? I'm like, oh, you're talking about Joe. And she goes, bro, it's so creeped out. There's a reason I got a cross tattooed on my forearm right there, folks, because I was out there a crime fighter. I needed my savior with me. But she does this, dude. So remember, the closet mirrors are behind me, and I go, "Oh, so Joe, right?" And she goes, "No, him." Over my shoulder, bro. So I know some of you in the audience right now just got the EBGBs. Yes, okay. I was living it when it happened. So you know, when you kind of like do this, right? Because I'm like, it's just a reflection, right? So I look over my shoulder. There's nothing there, right? I don't see anything in the reflection. And I just remember the temperature in the room, bro, like the movies. The temperature in the room just drops, dude. It's cold, dude. Cold. And she says this. You keep saying that you're going to fight him. He says you're going to have your chance one day. Now, let me tell you why this made me just turn white when she said this. Because this is nothing my partners could have put her up to. You know, this is that my partners didn't even, nobody knew this story. The only people that know this story, well, no more people know it now, but at the time, the only people that knew this story was me, my kids, and my parents. When I was young, and I'd be riding, you know, me and my dad be on the truck going somewhere, and I would always tell him, you know, Dad, when I die, instead of going to heaven, I'm going to ask God if I can come back as a guardian angel, because I want to fight demons. Like, I want to fight the devil. And, you know, while I was younger, he just kind of like, you know, entertained it. And then as I got older, he's like, hey, you shouldn't say things like that, right? Because, you know, yeah, devil can't read your thoughts, but if you speak it, he can hear you, right? Like this is kind of, you were raised Roman Catholic, for those that are curious. And, you know, that was kind of the thing, right? And, you know, it kind of became this like seriousness, but with some humor to it with my kids, you know, as they got older. But my family knew that, you know, I still have the same mentality to this day. Like, you know, when I die, I'm gonna ask God if I come back as a guardian angel. I want to thrash on demons. So when she said that, bro, what could she have known? And she's saying this is what because remember, she's still looking at whatever's over my shoulder.
Yeah.
That she's looking at something and communicating with something. And she's saying, he's telling me that, look, bro, this some long
because before this time frame, she had these various voices that talked to her. They only had one male, and then you kept on coming, and now there was someone else there. Because guess what? You ready for this one?
Do tell me.
Whatever that was from your childhood never left.
Better get the fuck out of here, bro.
She could see it and communicate with it, and it was right behind you. Remember, it was behind you, not her.
I don't like that, bro.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that either, but I'm telling you. You better go down and see the village the village psychic.
You know, listen, I know my creator's if he's there, the other one on this side has to be like,
well, and maybe that's the reason
right?
Why it doesn't affect you and you don't have communication with it, and it can't fuck with you. But it's still hanging around. But what I got out of that is that she could see the one that was attached to you.
Well, I'll tell you what, to kind of add to what you're saying, if there was ever a night that I felt it, it was, and again, just not to scare anybody, because I know it's late and I don't want to scare people that don't go to sleep. So there's no scary ending to this. It's just an experience. We're working late one night. I wasn't a detective at the time. I was working patrol. And when we get into the late night hours, you know, like, you know, post 11 o'clock, 12, 1 in the morning, there's this button inside police cars. We call it the kill switch. You push it. And this way, when you push the brakes, like your brake lights don't come on. It allows us to drive around stealth mode. So when we do this, you know, music's off. If it's a hot night, you'll have the AC on, but real low, because you don't want anything to disturb the sounds, because the windows are down. You want to be able to hear what's going on, because this is how we're looking for, you know, people out there, you know, trying to break into houses, break into cars. So, you know, I'm in stealth mode. I'm cruising in the north part of the city, and I turn onto this street. And as I turn onto this street, I felt the most evil presence I've ever felt in my life. Worse than any feeling I ever had in Iraq, right? And I've been to Babylon for folks. I'm one of the first Americans. Our company was the first Americans in the history
That's
of
probably
civilization.
where it latched onto you.
Don't fuck with me, bro.
I'm not fucking with you. I'm being serious.
Bro.
That's probably where it came from.
We were the first Americans to go through the Ishtar gates.
And you're probably the only one that had a brown color into your skin.
Bro, we're gonna have a conversation because you just fucked with me right now. Josh likes to do this shit, you guys. He likes to do this.
I'm putting it together for you.
But I mean, this was the if someone ever had to say what's the closest you ever came to the devil, not the shootings, not the murders, not any of that stuff. It was this night. And I turn onto the street, and as I'm turning onto the street, I just felt this evil that it felt like it grabbed my car and became a part of my patrol car. Like, that's how strong this was. Like, if you know, like sometimes you get like your phone, like back in the day when you had the cordless phones and you got too close to the microwave or the toaster and you could hear that, you know what I mean? Like, this is like what I'm hearing and feeling in my police car, right? And everything in there was telling me, turn around. Don't go down this street. Turn around. Like, dude, it was like, I'm not even for 1 second am I going to pretend like shit didn't have me bugged out, right? I'm bugged out. However, my oath, the badge that I wear on my chest that's more powerful than, self-preservation. And so I'm like, there's something very evil in this street. I'm the one that has to find it. Like, that's my job. And so I'm cruising, bro. And I'm just telling you, like, every look to the left is just worry. Every look to the right is worry. Because I'm looking for something I don't want to find, right? Because I'm telling you, man, it was just evil, Josh, like evil, bro. And finally, I get all the way down the street and I don't find anything. So I'm like, okay, we don't get to give up. Turn the car around and we're going to do it again. Now, this time, I lit that shit up like a Christmas tree, bro. Alley lights are on, headlights are on, both spotlights are on. It looks like fucking daytime as I'm going down.
Radio's playing.
I got this thing lit up, and I drive down the street. Don't feel that same presence. So whatever was there, this has always been my theory, and again, I can't prove it. I think that there was a legit dark source there. I'll say no. Normally in the past, I would say demon, but after some of the stuff I've been studying, I feel like that minimizes it. So I'm just going to say some type of like source or entity. There was something very dark that I picked up on, and it was going to do something. But my presence wasn't going to let it do whatever that was. And this is why it was pushing back against me so hard. And because I didn't leave, I feel like I disrupted that chain of events that was supposed to happen on that street to who knows whoever, like even I remember I told one of my partners, he's like, bro, it was probably death that was there to get like some old timer or something like that. Like everybody had these things. Like I remember one of my other buddies was like, dude, it was probably some evil spirit that was going to go possess somebody. And, it couldn't do you. But it can't do it with maybe somebody that's awake and everybody was asleep. Like, dude, it was crazy. All the different theories that, me and my partners, all cops, came up with, right? But I'll tell you what, man, like that's a moment in my life I'm never going to forget, man, because it's hard to explain because it wasn't just energy I felt. It was something, dude. Like it was something that I felt that wasn't just energy, wasn't just darkness. It was like there was something. What's that?
I can tell you one thing is that it's very real.
Yeah.
Is that this isn't your imagination being overactive or you just thinking and making this stuff up. This stuff is very real. And I think that if there's one message we can give as we close the show out tonight, there's one message we can give the people, it's this. This stuff is very, very real. And I don't know the level of where the disclosure is going to take us with UAPs, UFOs, and what the government's doing. But I hope that it goes down this route and shows people that consciousness isn't just a human thing, that it's expressed below us and well beyond us, above and below, and that there are things interacting with us right now that you can't see that can hear and know you. And that's a very scary and disempowering thing. But here's the thing, as you've been fine up until this moment, and that God and reality have certain ways of ensuring that things stay balanced. So I don't know, just understand that it's very much happening and very, very real.
My final thoughts before we get to our last ads and then let people know what we got coming up this week is, we're talking about, all this energy and these mindsets, and, something you said earlier, and I'm glad you said it, is we're way more powerful than we understand.
Mm-hmm.
Let's figure out how to tap into that power. Let's start finding ways. Let's educate ourselves. Let's put things into practice. Let's ask our creator for guidance to let those powers we have out. Let's learn the power of manifestation. One of the things we know is that these dark entities try to push a lot of these propagandas and these dark things, because if people are low frequency, if people are in that dark place, that manifests things. Let's weaponize the power of manifestation for good. And hopefully, I know these topics sometimes seem, not a little fringe. They're very fringe, but they're very real. They're very real. Josh, do you have an ad that you want to go to? I'm going to pull mine up, see what I can find.
Kids guide.
Actually, I have a different one. Go for it.
Oh, fuck you. Okay, let me do this one then. All right, parents, real talk for a second. America is about to hit a huge milestone. We're coming out of America's 250th birthday, 250 years of freedom, grit, sacrifice, and the greatest experiment in self-government the world has ever seen. This is the perfect moment to help your kids understand why this country matters, and not just fireworks and hot dogs, but the story behind it all. There's a free guide called The Kid's Guide to America's 250th Birthday, and it's honestly a great way to introduce kids to how America began, who the founding fathers were, and what they risked, and why the ideas they fought for still matter today. The guide sends kids back to the moment when the brave men signed the Declaration of Independence, knowing full well they were risking their lives for freedom. It breaks it all down in a way kids can actually understand and enjoy without watering it down or turning it into boring schoolwork. If you care about raising kids who know where this country came from and why it's worth preserving, this is something you'll want to grab. And the best part, it's completely free with a special offer. You just need to pay the $2 for shipping and processing. Just head to freeusabirthday.com. That's freeusabirthday.com. And the Kid's Guide to America's 250th Birthday is yours for your kids today. America's story matters. Make sure the next generation knows it. Disclaimer with that, read the fine print below, just so you know that they do charge a subscription soon after.
And before I read into this ad, we're going to be getting into Rumble Rants and any super chats that came in. So if you want to get something on the screen that you want us to read, if you're watching over there on Josh's channel or my channel, whatever platform, now's the time to get in those final Rumble Rants and those final super chats so we can read them. So I'll give you guys time while I read a little bit about Emerald Med. You're going to see a QR code populate on my stream here shortly. And with that, I want to share a quick story about a family supporting this channel. Their father had a rare form of cognitive decline due to his military service that made him unable to work. Their mother had to stop working too so that she could care for him. Their sons discovered new U.S. Library of Medicine studies on various mushroom blends that could significantly support cognitive function. So they began creating a complex mushroom supplement based on that research, not just to help their own family, but to help others. They nearly quit after multiple setbacks, plus having their first big batch stolen. Fast forward, now they speak at medical conventions nationwide. Their company, it's called Emerald Med, and their product massively supports brain, immune, blood, and heart function. Your cognitive function optimizes everything you do. You can get knees, heart, and kidneys replaced, but you can't get a new brain. So investing in the only brain you have for the rest of your life, that matters. If you want to support a company that supports our channel, free speech with their marketing, and you want to try some strong mushroom supplements, then they have a deal for America's 250th. Just click the link below and use the code for 30% off today. It's currently the most concentrated mushroom gummy in the US. It has up to 400 compounds and is rich in vitamins and minerals with 6 formulas in one. It's like getting 6 supplements for the price of one. You can click the link below to try Emerald Med Mushrooms Gummies 30% off today. And again, folks, if you go in the description of Josh's channels and my channels, you'll find all the affiliates and partnerships that we have. You saw us bring up the soft disclosure tonight. If you're watching over there on Josh's, make sure you grab that link. If you're watching on mine, you can grab the link I put in the different descriptions for you. And remember, soft disclosure. It's what that chapstick is. This is my favorite thing out of everything that's there. But you know, when I let the beard grow out a little bit more too, you got the soft disclosure brush. But with that, let me bring up my Rumble rants. Got a couple in there. So holy smokes, Durango gifted. Oh no way, dude! You're talking about 100 gifted subscriptions, bro. Holy smokes! Wow.
Jeez, Durango. I better not see you on my show tomorrow. If you're on my channel tomorrow, I do this every time. They're like, we're gonna go into we're watching The Guardian, and I go, hey guys, I'll have the show up in a minute on my Rumble channel. I better not see you over there on Alpha's Rumble channel watching the show. And I'm just saying, don't be showing up the Daily Dose Bomb. Be like, hey Josh, I'll be like, you son of a bitch.
Don't worry.
Congratulations, Alpha. That's awesome.
That is wild. Super cool. Happy for everybody that got to benefit from that. Rotten Dog tipped via the Rumble wallet. 10 buckaroos over there. Thank you for that. Love when people use that Rumble wallet. It's super cool. $5 coming in from Jen Hud. Thoughts on MJ movie coming out 17 years after his death versus 20 years. Was MJ trying to tell people about pedos? Yes, he and Trump were good friends. Did MJ tell DJT the truth about music and the Hollywood world? Well, one, I didn't realize it was 17 years after his death. So, heck, that's pretty interesting. You know, all I can say is I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really comment to it. I've heard a lot of positive feedback about it, and of course, what we've learned over the years is a lot of the people that the governments and media at the time try to present as bad people were probably the people that were trying to expose what was going on. So I'm definitely under the understanding that, you know, Michael Jackson was probably a good guy and not what they painted him out to be. You probably saw that his childhood was robbed and he wanted to protect other children from that. $17 coming in from the True Deplorable Keck. Alpha, she saw him over your shoulder. God, you want to bring up that story again? Oh, okay. Alpha, she saw him over your shoulder. It's in the title right over your head on the screen, The Guardian. Awesome conversation. Love you guys. Dang. Wow. I like where you went with that, True. Thank you. Dollar from ZBM. And then I only got one more and 2 super chats after that, Josh. ZBM says, just wanted to tell you, Alpha, I haven't taken your offer to buy me the Mushroom Restore supplements for granted at all. I just didn't figure out how to contact you a few days ago. Thank you so much. Do me a favor, ZM. What the email you sent me, just copy it and send it again. Because if I don't see it right away, it gets buried with all the stuff that comes in there. So you don't have to rewrite it. Just copy whatever you sent me and send it again. And then the last one over here on Rumble, $10 coming in from Yukon Cornelius 42. Josh said Babylon, but Alpha, don't forget the exact same dreams your Marines had. Yeah, we've had that conversation before. That one was wild. And then 2 super chats that came in over here. Suitcase to you, $5 super chat. Actually, I can bring these up on the screen for you guys. 4th of July, President Trump says will be the biggest ever. You think it will be a show only or disclosures or something? Listen, I'm hoping, and I got my fingers crossed that it's going to be something beyond just the show. But we'll see. I don't want to get everybody's hopes up and we get rug pulled. The emphasis that he's putting on it, I will tell you this, whether we see it publicly or not, there's something that is popping off right now and in the days leading up to it that is significant for our country.
Q After Hours, we're going to talk about it Sunday night at Q After Hours. We're going to talk about it on the daily. Go to the Daily Dose and listen to the Daily Dose tonight. I talk about it at the beginning of the show. So,
oh yeah. And the last one for me, Josh, and it's yours. $10 super chat. When I was 16, I fainted, and when I woke up, I saw a very tall white person with a face like a white sun. I wasn't afraid. What do you say to that, Josh? I'm very curious to your take on that.
I don't know. Have you ever seen them again?
Very curious. Very
Interesting.
curious.
Let me go through these. Number one is all different types of jewels coming in on the YouTube. L. Thompson 9888 and a high 500 jewels right there. We have scrolling down to see what other ones came in. I saw a few different ones from YouTube that came in. And oh, we have 100 messages on X. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Little Old Granny, what about the human souls? It's $10 super chat. And so I assume that she is talking about, projections of consciousness. And I think that human souls are absolutely integrated in everything that we're talking about. I believe that this is the source of it. And who knows that maybe a lot of these things that we're seeing are disembodied human souls from ancient times, Nephilim or so forth, right? Fallen angels. We have Rotten Dog, 10 jewels. Thank you so much there, Rotten Dog. From YouTube, they send the jewels. And Susan Blythe Z, $2. Hello, Josh. Please say hi to Apquill. Thank you so much. And hi, Apquill. And thanks, Susan. And then Little Old Granny, love Good Brew, love LifeWave, love PetMed. I appreciate you, Little Old Granny. Thank you for that other super chat right there. You're amazing. Appreciate you so much. And then for my Rumble rants, we have RPG 3573 that we talked about earlier. Thank you so much, RPG. Boycott YouTube. Thank you, OGs. $10 Rumble rant. Daytar 17, $1 Rumble rant. What is in plain sight will blow our minds. 100% agreed. Space Shot 76 rated the stream. Blue Eyes 88 rated the stream. Thank you so much to all of them out there. Rotten Dog tip via the Rumble wallet. That's $10 and some Tether gold. Appreciate you there so much, Rotten Dog. And then Rot N Dog. So Daytar 17, another $1 super chat or Rumble rant. Doing the inner work, cleaning attachments that no longer serve. Raise your own frequency. Ascension. Agreed. And then 15 Tonya Bay gifted 1 subscription to Red Pill Line. Thank you so much. 15 Tony Bank. Guys, awesome. Appreciate all the support out there. You guys are amazing.
It got one more super chat that came in here at the very end from Colleen. $5 super chat says, yes, what about Trump's 4th of July party? And I'm home alone. So we kind of commented on that right now. Here's what I'll say. Don't be afraid about being home alone. Look at it. Have positive energy to that. Look at it as a moment to have quietness and stillness and to kind of learn more about yourself. Have an approach that is not negative, and I think that that'll kind of shift everything. And then Swell Texas Gal just became a monthly supporter over here. So thank you guys, every single one of you guys, for the support that you show me and Josh. We appreciate it, and it motivates us to keep on going. For my audience, after you hit that thumb and you hit that heart and you leave a comment, make sure you head on over to Josh's platforms and do the same thing for him. You guys, our channels are growing, and it's growing because of you guys and your support. Josh, you want to give you the last word, and then we'll bounce out.
Awesome. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Much love, respect. Have a great 4th of July. Go out there and celebrate the founding of the greatest country on earth at the moment. And I hope you guys all have a blessed 4th of July with your friends, your families, or whatever you do out there. Go over, visit Alpha's website as well as my website. Check out the ways to help support everything that we do, as well as support those who help support us. So much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night, and happy 4th of July.